when you completely ignore parts of yourself that are trying to be heard, it doesn't always work right. It's like a pressure cooker. And what happens to a pressure cooker that doesn't get a release? You know, if you don't have that, right? It explodes. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Nicole Smith, a nurse practitioner, and I am the founder of Antigravity Wellness, which specializes in women's hormone care. I'm a menopause board certified provider, orthopedics nurse practitioner certified, and family nurse practitioner certified. So all the things. One of the things that my patients have been talking about a lot is frustration with ebbs and flows. I am not unfamiliar with this myself. What does that mean, ebbs and flows? So things are not a straight line. I think I say that on my About Me page on antigravitywellness.com, where you can see like my before and after, and another before and after, and then after the after. Because there is no finish line until we're like not here anymore, right? So we're always learning, we're always growing, and we're always going through seasons and cycles. So the progress that you have is not ever linear. The seasons that you're in are cyclical. There's ebbs and flows. It's like the tide coming in and out. It's like the moon cycles. It's like your hormone cycles and the seasons of your life. Progress is not like this. It's more like this. Okay. And it can go down too, you know? So what are you focusing on? And if you're in the dip, there's a book about that. There's a book called The Dip. But if you're in the dip, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you are messed up, that you're messing up, that anything is wrong. It just means you're in the dip. The dip is normal. It is normal to dip. Okay. And then you come back out again, right? Normal. You're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're okay. So when you feel like, it's nothing is happening, or I'm going backwards, or, why is this? First of all, just breathe. You're allowed to feel that way. Absolutely. I don't want to diminish anyone's experiences here at all. You are absolutely allowed to feel that way. It is normal. Also, don't judge yourself for feeling like this, you know, forgive yourself for judging yourself for thinking the thoughts, right? It's normal. And women in perimenopause have a particular uphill battle. And this is really pertinent, guys. I had a complete meltdown last week, at the end of last week. I'm feeling so much better now. But I was definitely in a dip last week. And my poor husband, he's so amazing. And so I'm very blessed. And I recognize that, and I'm grateful for that. I have support. I also have girlfriends, you know, so support is something you can cultivate. And so if you don't have it right now, you don't feel like you have it right now, call it in. You can do that. You have that ability, whether you think you do or not. You really do. We are quite powerful when we think about what we really want and get alignment with that. If you want support and you want a more supportive atmosphere, call it in, and what you need. So my husband is very supportive. He's still a guy, you know, and he understands that he doesn't understand. But he's so freaking sweet, because he's like, if she's going to have a meltdown, it's about 2 days before her period starts. And it's not every month, okay? I don't have a freaking meltdown every single month. But if I'm going to have it, and why? It's because your hormones are, you know, your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone go from here to freaking here, like right before your period. And then usually it starts like gradually coming back up again. So like I'm coming out of it and I'm feeling better now. Also, I had to move through some things. I had some really negative thoughts that were going on that were just, I was trying to ignore them. Honestly, I was trying to ignore them and pretend like it wasn't there, because, you know, I don't want to perpetuate that cycle. But when you completely ignore parts of yourself that are trying to be heard, it doesn't always work right. It's like a pressure cooker. And what happens to a pressure cooker that doesn't get a release? You know, if you don't have that, right? It explodes. I exploded. I really did. And I was in it for a hot minute. That night, and then the next morning I woke up and I was still working on it. I journaled a lot. I listened to some people who have a lot more positive things to say to try and, like, you know, let's reprogram. You know, we're like doing neurosurgery right now. We are trying to rewire the brain. And I did get myself out of it. And then my husband and I were kind of able to have like a chat about it. We went out to lunch and eat some pasta. Bella Vita. If you guys haven't been to Bella Vita, it's so good. It's really good Italian food. So if you want a cheat meal, oh, so good. So we went there. We had a decompressed our moment and had that conversation. And I expected him, you know, he like wrote me a letter that night and was like, I'm so proud of you. And I know you're so hard on yourself, but you know, you need to see me like I see you, and you're amazing. You can do this. So, which is so nice to get that external validation, but I also need to give that to myself, because that's really where it needs to come from. It's from me. So sometimes we need to borrow other people's belief in ourselves, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So, but I have patients who who are struggling with that same thing. So they are up and down, and they'll come to me when they're in a dip, which is what I'm here for. So they were doing okay, and then they had a dip. Something happened. They ended up on the ER. Actually, a couple of people ended up in the ER over the weekend. So they were messaging me. And it's hard to, as me a provider, that I'm like, oh, you know, what do I do? You know, make sure we give them reassurance, make sure that I take a look at things that are going on from my perspective, where I can help guide, where I can do, like, let's order an MRI, then do that at the ER, But then also that reassurance that this is not where you're going to stay. Okay. And any time things like this come up, whether it's an illness, whether it's anxiety, whether it's something in your life, whether it's things in the house breaking, why is the water heater making that sound? Ugh, are you serious? I guess that's what we're doing today. Like anything, you know, and some things are more pressing and serious than others, you know. But these are all things that come up. And again, this is just life, you know. It's not if things are going to go wrong, it's when. But also, it's not if things are going to go right, but when. Because they will. Ebbs and flows. So we just need to take a look at it and say, okay, what are our next steps? And that's also, you know, I have some patients who are in the weight loss program, and they're noticing that too. It is not a straight line. Progress, healing, through anything, whether that's physical ailments or trauma. All of us have trauma, big T, little t. It is not a straight line, ever. Okay? There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be ebbs and flows. It's normal and it's okay. Know that every time you're in a dip, it's because you're moving through it. Okay? We can make that decision whether or not we get to stay there. I used to say that to my patients in the hospital. I remember they would say, you know, this is rough. I've been sick for a while. Now I'm here. This isn't a fun place to be, in this hospital bed, having to take all these medications. And I feel depressed. And I would tell them, yeah, that makes sense. That's valid. Anyone would feel like that. And you have a right to that. Feel it. But do not set up camp there. You can take a break. You can sit down. You do not set up camp there. You do not build your house in Depression Row, okay? We don't stay there. And that takes effort. It does. But it also takes acceptance of what you're going through. Just like women in perimenopause, or just like, you know, girls in general who we're on a 28-ish day cycle. we're really kind of used to going with the flow, like literally, with the ebbs and flows of our month. We've had to learn how to adapt to that. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with us. It's normal. It's part of our anatomy. It's part of our existence. And there's power to be found in that. But it's when we try to push it down and ignore it and push through and shove through and make it fit something that it isn't. That is where things get really hard and really tough. So breathe through it. If you're in the dip, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Okay? So remember that. Reach out for help when you need it. And if you can't find the help that you need, go seek it out. Go get a therapist. That is what they're there for. You literally can pay someone just to talk. You just talk to them. Because your friends aren't your therapist. Your friends are your friends. Your family's not your therapist. Your partner's not your therapist. So it's not necessarily fair to like dump that all on them. They are there to support you. But when you really need to process through things, get a professional. That would be like going to your friend about your hormones and be like, can you put me on estrogen? No, she can't do that unless she's like a provider and someone who specializes in that. You need a specialist, okay? You need to hire somebody to help you with that. That's what we're here for. We went to school for this. Like, we're dedicating our lives and we're getting our livelihood. We're able to feed ourselves because of the work that we do. So get a professional to help if you need that. I think it's very important. And then the last thing I want to talk about is anxiety about anxiety. So this also comes up a lot in my practice, especially with new patients, but even with those patients that have some lingering things that we're still working on. Because when we're attacking anything that's going on, hormonally or whatnot, thank you for the thumbs up. It takes time, and it takes focusing on the big rocks first. And sometimes that means other things that may not be the most important, as far as, like, for instance, if you're having weird neurologic symptoms like one-sided weakness, that's my concern right now. Let's focus on that and figure out what's going on with that. Or if your iron is so low that you're like significantly anemic and symptomatic, I'm not going to focus on your libido right now. We're going to focus on what's going to keep you out of the hospital first. So we're going to triage you a little bit. And that's not to say that your other concerns aren't valid. They absolutely are. But let's focus on the big rocks. All right. And then we will get to the other stuff. Don't worry. We will get to it. Absolutely. The belly fat. That's another one too that comes up a lot. Women are really worried about that belly fat because they see it every day. So it's like top of mind to them. But I'm focused on things like their blood sugar and their lipid panel, and your hormones are in the gutter. So we're focused on that. I'm not trying to diet you right now. I'm trying to actually calm your system down, refeed you a little bit. You might actually gain a little bit of weight, probably going to mostly be water weight though, because your body needs that. And then we're going to heal those hormones before we actually go after that belly fat. So triage, okay? So we need to triage first, take care of the big things, and then we'll work on the other things. What else doesn't help with this is anxiety about the anxiety, okay? So like the women who can't sleep, sometimes sleep can be really hard to tackle. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes these women have been struggling with sleep for so long that it makes it very hard for us to get on top of it. And it can take some time. But then you get anxious. I don't know if anyone's experienced this. If you've ever had a hard time sleeping, and you wake up and, oh my gosh, I'm waking up every morning or in the middle of the night. Wake up in the middle of the night. I have one of these patients. This is like her story exactly. I've had a couple of these. I wake up every night at the same time and I struggle to get back asleep. And I know I'm going to do it again. And I don't know what to do. And I've tried all of it. Like, you can just hear it even through a chat message. They're spiraling, right? anxiety about your anxiety. So remembering that there's nothing wrong with you. Of course, this is happening because of this, and this. Like women in perimenopause. Of course, you're waking up at 2 or 3 a.m. and having a hard time going back to sleep. Your progesterone is in the toilet. And that's your hormone that helps you to relax and go to sleep and stay asleep. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. So now what are the steps? What do we do to help support the body to sleep better? Anxiety over anxiety. Like it's pouring lemon juice on a freaking paper cut. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? We're very good at that. So let's refocus, let's reframe, and move forward with that. All right, guys, that was what I'm going to talk about today. And we'll see if I'll probably pop on again later this week, but I'm getting really warm here in the hot box. So I'm going to get out and continue on with my day. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. If you ever have any questions about perimenopause or menopause or any of the things, you can always leave a comment, or you can even DM me, and we check that on a pretty regular basis there. So definitely send me your questions. I love hearing what you guys are struggling with. And also, new book is coming out really soon. I'll probably talk about that later this week. So have a good day. Bye.